to wake up. Excuse me. It's time to wake up.
Deadspin wrote a great piece on this situation that happened in America recently. A teenage black girl was choked by a police officer, slammed to the ground, then picked up and thrown across the room. And it was all because she was allegedly defiant. Some students in the classroom said that all that happened was the girl took out her cell phone and put it away, and then the teacher wanted to excuse her from class and she refused to leave. And so they called in the resource officer, and he had a field day and just kind of beat the girl up. And some people were blaming the girl because once the police officer choked her, she supposedly hit him or threw her hand up in the air and it hit him in the face. And so they're blaming her actions for getting beat up by a police officer. Not to mention, the officer is a grown man and had a reputation for abusing students. He's known as Officer Slam at the school. So anyway, he was fired, and he's currently under investigation for abusing this young lady. So Deadspin went on to talk about the state of affairs for African Americans in America. African Americans only make up 13% of Americans, but they're 50% of the jail population. And, you know, a lot of it is because African Americans are unfairly targeted. They're looked at as criminals from day one, no matter what. And if something happens to them, it's always their fault. And no matter what happens, nobody believes what they're saying. You know, they just look at you like you're lying. And they went on to say that, you know, Africans were kidnapped from Africa and brought to America. And when they got their own freedom, they were even looked at as criminals because they were stealing their own bodies away from the slave master. And, you know, many people still have this attitude towards African Americans today. And I noticed that sometimes when you deal with certain people in different industries, no matter what happens to you, it's your fault. No matter what you say, they think you're lying. And so that's kind of unfair. And then furthermore, this article goes on to talk about how the Colorado massacre shooter James Holmes killed, you know, dozens of people, but he was apprehended and put into the back of the police car and taken to jail. Dylan Roof Storm went to a black church and killed a bunch of people. He was apprehended, put into the back of the police car. They bought him Burger King and then took him to jail. But, you know, blacks like Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, and several others ended up dead, and they did far less offensive things. And so there's kind of a double standard here where blacks are treated harshly when they don't deserve to. However, there's another side of the story also. Some black people are very violent, and when they do move into certain neighborhoods, the property values do go down because they're not as civilized as they should be. They sit outside, smoke weed, drink beer, and are very loud, and no one does anything about it, and it just goes on and goes on. So there are some blacks that are doing, you know, their due diligence to be good citizens, and there are others that are not. So you cannot just look at a group of people as all bad, because, I mean, there are others who do bad, and we don't segregate them or stereotype them as all bad. So you can't do that with a certain part of the population you want to eliminate because you don't want competition. And another thing I have been noticing is people are so concerned about the upward mobility of black people becoming more successful. But, you know, if you really look at society, and if you're paying attention, Asians are doing better than everybody. On average, they make more than white people. they're more educated than whites. They're more Asians in like the top colleges than whites. And so I'm wondering, why are so many racist people focused on African Americans when they are all being beat out by Asian Americans? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And so it seems like this idea of ignorance and racism is inbred in the American culture. No matter what, people are going to dislike black people just because they're black. And I think that's a sad situation. So I don't want the situation to sound hopeless. There is hope. And some people are saying, if there's a God, why does he allow such suffering and such abuse to go on? Well, basically because it's demonic. The devil said that if people had a choice, they wouldn't unselfishly love God. So to prove that you love God, live by the rules in the Bible and do right by others, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, love others and be supportive of others, and try to uplift and help others as much as you can. And that will be the way that we kind of stop all of this racism and violence, because it's really unnecessary. Everybody's flesh and blood, and it's sad when people love dogs more than they love other human beings.